Hello, everybody. I'm Cody Troyer.
And I'm Brent Gaisford.
And we are the Hugonauts. This time, we are not doing Cloud Atlas. We will do that sometime down the road because we got a chance to interview the author, Robert Jackson Bennett, who just won the Hugo for Best Novel for The Tainted Cup.
And so I'm not eating any hats on the show.
Hey, Brent's not eating any hats. We're so excited to talk to Robert, and so we thought we'd do that instead.
Yes, and next episode, we'll be talking about I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, which is a short, wild dystopia that we're reading for part of the book club on Discord. So hop on over there if you want to talk about it before the episode comes out. But really looking forward to talking about that one. It's super thought-provoking.
Yeah. So without further ado,
thank you so much for joining us, Robert. We're so excited about this. Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so first, we're so happy about the Tainted Cup and your success. But anyway, so tell us, what was it like winning the Hugo? What did you do to celebrate?
So far, I think I've done nothing because August is like one of the worst months to do anything. I had my brother-in-law and his whole family over here for like 2 weeks. We got the start of school. It's my wife's birthday and our anniversary. It's actually today is our anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
And so the day of, if I recall, I woke and on top of all this, my kid has been starting to play football at high school, which means we got to get up at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning and drop him off to be there at 6:30.
Nice. So you found out the next day. Were you even awake?
Yeah, no. And so I passed out at 9:30. And it wasn't until I got a phone call from my agent at 12:45 a.m. because I missed the call. I think I actually rejected the call because I didn't realize it was from my agent. Because you get a phone call at 12:45 in the morning, you're just pissed. But I lay there in bed for a bit, and then I was like, "What was that about?" And then I looked and saw that she'd left me a voicemail saying that I won the Hugos. Won a Hugo, and then I logged into social media and saw things were just exploding, and I really couldn't believe it. And then I had to go back to bed, and the next day I had to move a Peloton. I had to wake up and move a Peloton and move a treadmill out of my in-laws' house, and I had all the toddlers over. I mean, I really didn't get a good chance to do a lot of stuff, really.
You have the same problem I do. I think this is the kind of answer I would also give to a question like this. And my wife is always trying to convince me that I need to it's okay to celebrate good things. So anyway, I'm going to tell you that, which is this is a very good thing. You could celebrate. That would be okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And in fact, I'm also going to celebrate because, we loved your book so much. I loved your book so much. When we reviewed all the Hugo nominees and the other best sci-fi and fantasy books that we read from 2024, I thought your book was so far and above the greatest book written last year. I mean, so good.
Yes.
Anyway, so I promised on our show that if you did not win the Hugo, I was going to eat a hat on the show.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that in the email.
And I was going to do it. A bunch of listeners were suggesting maybe I could boil leather like I was an Arctic explorer and that wouldn't kill me. Anyway, I don't have to figure any of that out. So instead, I'm going to wear my celebration outfit here. I'm going to try to be in theme with Tainted Cup. So I got jungle with the pineapples. And then the closest I could get to alchemy is kind of like witchcraft. So anyway, we're going to do the rest of the interview as a jungle alchemist in celebration. But
with the hat, you don't have to eat.
Yeah, with a hat, I don't have to eat. So anyway, yes, congratulations. I'm celebrating with you by not giving myself indigestion. And it's so well-deserved. It's such an incredible book. So anyway, really excited to talk with you today.
Totally agree. And just finished Drop of Corruption 2. Also so good. So fantastic.
Thank you.
And to get into those two, we had some specific questions about them. Our first one was, what made you settle on biology as the technology in Tainted Cup, Drop of Corruption, in Karum? What drew you to creating plant life that becomes the technology of the people?
I think I've thought a long time about the way that a lot of our lives are actually still biological magic. A lot of ways, agriculture itself is a very unnatural thing. It's very messy. It's very hard. But if you look at how corn looked when it first existed, it looks like absolutely nothing. Plums, oranges, apples we have really worked on these things for thousands of years to make them what they are today. And it's weird that we have this movement right now about trying to eat naturally. We want to be like living naturally. We want to be as close to the like natural state of human society that we can, but really nothing is very natural. Nothing that we do at all is anywhere close to something that would be received by nature. Like, I'm not even sure what that really means to be natural. And that had bothered me for a goodish bit. And so when I started thinking about magic, I wanted to be something that I did touch a lot of like systems, environmental controls, to have to be a problem that was so significant that only a large scale state could manage it. Because that's something that you don't see a lot in fantasy fiction, is like a state that's very active and coherent.
Agreed.
You don't see that. It's way more fun to be like, I'm a king with an oath to this king who's got an oath to this king, and we've all got oaths. We're trading oaths like Pokemon cards. It was way more fun to have a more complex state that was very robust, that was trying to deal with all these problems and was thinking about the way that all of these like systems would touch one another. So those two things kind of came together, and it was sort of a fun way to kind of rub the reader's nose in the idea of this is naturally unnatural or unnaturally natural. As well as to sort of hammer home the idea that like nature doesn't really care about anything that's in it. It can be beautiful and like it can be stunning and it can be amazing, but at the same time, to nature itself, nothing is something that can't be lost and forgotten. And so I wanted to sort of like reground our perception of nature as something that is immensely powerful, but also frequently immensely hostile, especially if you go back to the era of plagues, sicknesses, contagion, all kinds of things like that. Those are all things that I wanted to hit on the book as well.
Yeah. And I think it all came through amazingly. What also feels modern, I guess, or relevant to our world is your stages of conflict and the characters themselves. Like in Drop of Corruption, you have medical debt as an issue, as some conflict for Dinius, the medical debt of his dead father that he has to relieve, and that just feels so modern, and the stakes feel very modern. It feels more like your books feel more like maybe a journalistic thriller or a corporate thriller set in this awesome fantasy world. And is that intentional? Do you try to bring that to the fantasy realm when you're writing?
Yeah, a bit. I do think like if you read stories of folks struggling in England in like the 17th, the 18th like century, a huge amount of it is just debt management. Everyone's in debt and they're all trying to figure out how to get out of debt. It's either like you are poor and just trying to stay alive, or you're trying to manage your debt constantly. And I thought, like, I was like, man, that sounds real familiar. And I wanted to touch upon that, where it feels like something that's so modern, but is also extremely old. Like most of like the wealthy folks in England were terrible with money and were constant because they had felt obliged to maintain like a level of like living that was way beyond their means. And so they were frequently just running out of money like crazy. And so that was something that I wanted to touch on. But yes, I definitely think that there's a lot of ways that this is more aligned with science fiction than it is with fantasy, both in how it works and the nature of the world. But I do think I'm trying to turn an eye a little bit more on our own society. But I also think something that is unusual is that there's a little bit of Star Trek streak here too, in that what's unusual is that in these books, when there are big problems with the world and society, they usually try and work really hard to stop them in good faith. Like if someone is doing something wrong, they will actually try and put them in jail. If there are a lot of people sick, then they will actually try and heal them. And this was like that was something that received a bit of confusion when I first showed this to people, because they just assumed that like the Titans were made up, that they weren't real, or that they were caused by the government or something like that. I'm like, no, I really wanted to have a world where there is a state, there is a society, and it's mostly trying to do the right thing. I think, and I actually don't know if you can write I think like a noir you could write, but like a murder mystery, you really can't write where the world is broken and no one gets their just desserts because that's a little bit cozier.
Yeah.
Like you have to have like Poirot find the killer and put them in jail. And although things can't be put right, there is a measure of justice done due to his like how smart he is, pretty much.
Right.
But you really can't have a dystopic, like cozy kind of murder mystery. You can't do that. And I think that that's part of the appeal of this as well, is it has a touch, a dab of being a little cozy, even though, you know, it's got plants that like grow out of people and rip them to pieces.
Right. Yeah. And the size of the empire, and the cohesion in coming together to save everyone from the leviathans and from disease, as you say, is also the system of justice that allows somebody to be held accountable for their actions.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're upfront and saying, like, we're not doing this because it's the right thing. We are doing this because if you don't maintain order at the highest level, everything falls to pieces.
Mhm.
And then we can't keep back the Titans. That's what it all comes back to, is why does the state exist? Why do we exist as a society? Is to do this thing. And to do this thing, we need folks healthy, smart, have a sense of like equality. So they are obliged to invest in their people and protect them because they know that if they don't do this, then things are going to fall to pieces.
Yeah. And I think per the genre element, I think almost best to call this just speculative fiction. Really, I don't know if you'd agree with that designation, but this is something that kind of goes beyond fantasy. And I know based on the afterword of Drop of Corruption, you have some issues with fantasy in general, and especially recent fantasy. And it sounded like you wanted to make something that that has an element where everyone is involved and all the people in the empire are part of a solution, like you were just alluding to, where it's not just one king, one binary good versus evil, one person who's a hero who saves everyone. Would you speak a little bit on that?
Sure. I think it's really tough to write a story where a lot of the morals are based around the idea of kingship. Because on the one hand, you either like if you want it to be like sunny and like optimistic, then it feels very religious almost. We've got to get the proper bloodline back on the throne to save the realm. And that is, you know, like you could see the king as God, you could see the king as blessed by God. Like this is something like with like the Lord of the Rings a little bit. You can see a little bit of stuff there where he's got this higher like bloodline within him from the fallen days of yore, and that's why he needs to be back on the throne and things will be better. That can feel kind of weird, and it's really tough to translate that into a sense of like modern morals. I think that they are kind of worth looking at almost as like an alien sort of a conceit. Like we're not like them whatsoever, but it's tough not to draw lessons from the stories that you're reading. But that's the sunny side of things.
Mm-hmm.
On the darker side of things, we seem to really enjoy watching kings be kings through brutality and cruelty. The thing that we like love saying the most is like, well, these things actually happen. This is how things used to be, and we need to like. That's why it's okay for me to watch this stuff and be fascinated by all the incest and rape and things like that. And that's fine, but there's a lot of other history out there too. And I think that it just kind of taps into an awareness we've had in the past 2 decades of unfairness in the world, that there are people who can get away with anything, that there are people who are enormously cruel and they delight in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that we can have a sense of control with that is to imagine ourselves as these people. Like if you can't beat them, join them. And I think that we're seeing some of these, like some of like the readers and like the audience of this style of fiction starting to imagine themselves not as the victims. You never think of yourself as the victim, but as the monstrous rich prince who gets up to all sort of like debauched things. And I don't think that's great. And so I wanted to write very much about someone who was not special, who was an average person, has his own problems, sure, but is not like either in his birth or even kind of in what he does, someone of elite status. And Din is that. Like he is like a reasonably smart, like 23-year-old dude. But what he's doing is not like, he's not fighting the Titans. He's not healing the world. He's just trying to figure out who killed this guy and to put them in jail. And that's it.
Yeah. And as Anna points out at the end of Drop, that's valuable. That's something the world really needs. He doesn't need to be heroic. So I thought I loved that scene. Speaking of Anna too, where did Anna come from? Anna's such a fabulous character. I love Anna. And I think everyone else does too. What's the inspiration for Anna Dolabra?
Well, it's kind of funny. When I first wrote a draft of this, it was Din who was crazy, and he was the main character.
Okay.
And Anna was like his controller, and she was cold and calculating and aloof and very strange and kind of mean. But Din was the drunken nut job. And that draft really didn't work for a lot of reasons. But I went for a walk trying to think about what to do. And I realized, I was like, when it is a detective story, the detective has to be the weird one. The Sherlock Holmes or whoever has to be the nut job. That's how that is supposed to work. They have to be the quirky one. And once I got that around my head, I realized when I wrote like Foundry Side, one of the characters in that was a genius, and he was like older and sort of a shitbag, although he worked to like redeem himself later. But it was really fun just having him scream at people. It's a lot of fun just having him ball people out. And I was like, I really want to write like more scenes where an older like person who delights in upsetting everybody says all these things, and like no one is allowed, like can like come back at them. And yeah, that was her. Once I had that sort of in my head, and like I realized that was who she was meant to be, things started to shift towards that way. It really wasn't until though, like I was trying to think, because she's based off of like the Wolf books by Rex Stout, who is also a total jerk. He is a brilliant like detective. He's very obese. He won't ever leave his house. Loves to drink beer, loves his flowers and all of his like orchids. And he doesn't like, he only works for money. That's it. Okay. He's a total jerk about money. Anyway, I had her based a little bit off of him at first. That was the first like inspiration. But then I realized it would be fun if you got the sense that if things were just a little different, she would be the bad guy. Because she scans as evil. When you first see her, you're like, that person is evil. And I realized that we actually have a trope for like someone who is like evil, who is trapped in a room, and it's Hannibal Lecter. And so once I realized, I was like, oh, Anna is more of a Hannibal Lecter character than she is like a common like detective. That all made a lot of sense. And also because Hannibal has the appetite, he loves to consume like the stories of all these like murders. He seems to love raw meat. And like, that's where you start to get the sense of that she isn't just a detective. She might be a predator of a kind, like a different species of human being almost.
Yeah.
Which leads to all kinds of problems.
Yeah. And just a fabulous character as well. So thanks for outlining that. And we know that the third book in the series, it is going to be a trilogy. Sounds like
might be more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're looking at 5 now, but I haven't written all the contracts for all that yet.
Okay, good.
I mean, I've signed them.
Phew. I mean, I have in the notes here that I was like, it's supposed to be a trilogy. It seems like you do trilogies, but I could read 20 of these. So keep them coming, please. we had a lot of talk on our Discord about the leviathans.
Mhm.
Are we going to find out any more about the leviathans as we go?
Like in this one, so there's basically two main themes that are happening in the background of these stories. What are the Titans and what do they want? And who are the like Canum and like what happened to them?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd they come from? What were they?
Yep.
This book will delve into the latter one. The next book will be about the Titans because I know people
Okay.
like the giant monsters. They definitely want to have that, but you get to sort of tap in a little bit to see like how weird it was to have a race of brilliant like alien humanoids rule for like 3 or 4 centuries and then suddenly vanish.
Yeah.
It's going to delve a little bit into that a bit more.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that mystery as well because it's fun that you've placed these smaller, more human mysteries of Anna and Dinius and their actual murder mysteries within the world and just kind of shown what the world's like and given us all these teases without going past where the story feels like it needs to go. It's artfully done. And what is the title of the third book and when is it coming out? Next year sometime?
A Trade of Blood. It is about two families that are extremely like wealthy. They raise cattle and they've had a long running feud. And then suddenly there is a horrible like murder. And it looks like one of like a son from one family has cut up a girl from the other. And it's possible that things could break out into war.
Okay. All right.
Interesting. And when's it coming out?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm working to finish it. I wrote like a whole draft and then I sent it in. This is something that I do a lot. And I realized I really don't like it that much. So we threw the whole thing away, especially because I kept seeing all these people say, love these books. They're so good. They're so wonderful. And I was like, well, this one's actually got to be pretty good. I can't have it be like B-. It's got to be at least B+.
Yeah. Well, Drop of Corruption did not disappoint.
Well, on that note, so we loved these books so much, but full transparency, we haven't read any of your other work yet. What should we read next? You have 2 other finished trilogies, several other works. What do you think we should read next from the back catalog?
Oh, I don't know. Each book is sort of like fantasy dressed up as a different genre. So all of the city's books are a spy story, basically,
Okay.
but with gods and like magic as the nuclear like weapons that you're looking to like secure or use. And all the Founders trilogy stuff is cyberpunk dressed up as like fantasy. And it goes from the full, like, the tech city to, post-apocalyptic warfare with cyberpunk tools.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's, we're certainly big cyberpunk fans, but I really like a spy novel too. So anyway, sounds like we've got some reading to do.
Yeah.
Speaking of, outside your own work, we love books. That's why we do this, obviously. What have you been reading recently? Have you read anything that you really liked?
I'm getting back into Pratchett. I'm trying to get my teen to read more of him. And so I was going to read some of his books too. And I was just kind of looking around and I saw like that I had a whole bunch of these. And I was like, I haven't read these in a long time. So I sat down and like, I started reading them. And it was one of those nice turns to go from the feeling of here's the books that I should be reading versus here's the books that I want to be reading. I'm having a lot of fun with those.
Discworld or other stuff? Nice.
Yeah, all the Discworld ones.
Yeah, that's great. He's on my to-read list too. I actually just saw he came up in my library, but I can't remember which one. It's not a Discworld one. Anyway, okay. And this next question has some mild spoilers for the end of the Tainted Cup. So in our episodes, typically we do like a pre-spoilers, post-spoiler section. This is an interview. This is different. But if you have not read the Tainted Cup and you don't want to know anything about the end, we'll call the rest of the interview here like the post-spoilers section. So with that said, Din and Anna both have mild disabilities, basically. Mm-hmm. And that's very popular in fiction, particularly like speculative fiction, like in this moment in time. But at the same time felt supernatural, and it's like not the main focus of the book. In fact, it's one of the mysteries actually throughout the first book, and you don't actually find out till the end exactly what's happening with these characters and what's going on with them. And then when they finally talk about it, it's a good reveal, but it's also such a heartfelt, wonderful moment between them. It's like one of the things that really brought home the ending for me. what I'm really curious about is, how much is that intentional? Do you think about what's in the zeitgeist at the moment that you're writing something, and try to figure out how to do something that plays with that and feels authentic to you? Or did that just sort of happen as coincidence?
For Din, yes, because my son is dysgraphic and slightly like dyslexic, where like he can read lots of stuff, but when it comes to like reading like tiny text that's long form stuff, he's like, this sucks. I'm not having a great time here.
Hmm.
And it's just kind of funny to have someone who is a smart kid, but is like, I really would prefer not to read books. And like spelling for him, real tough. And his writing is not great either. And it never really has been. And it was one of those things where we didn't know that he had it until he was 7. And looking back, we're like, oh yeah, should have figured that one out. Should have known that one. So for Dinya, and I kind of wanted to have an example of someone who has an issue, but it's not the end of the world for them. And they just find a way to make do, because that's part of what, like, and I think that that's sort of an odd thing to set your goals on, but to like make do is fine. Like I stutter, still do, but the goal is like I'm not going to be a Shakespearean actor. I'm not going to be a voiceover actor. I just kind of want to make do, man. I want to get through like phone calls and stuff like this. So there's that too. For Anna, less so, because she's so much of a cartoon character and a little bit of a trope. And as you learn, there's a little bit more to her than being human. So I have got like a lot of people saying it's so great that she is an example of autism. And although I would say that she probably was once autistic, I don't think that she qualifies as that anymore for reasons that you might learn in the story. And yeah, like, but I also have like friends who have children who are like autistic, and it's not like, I don't know, like it's not a quirky fun time for them. It's very hard. And so it does feel a little bit odd to kind of have this character who is, again, very much a cartoon character and very much a trope in these sorts of stories. To be sort of like a fun cheerleading like example of how this can be a superpower. When I have like friends who like for these folks, it is not a superpower. It is something that they have to like struggle with, and they have to make do. So that might be something that I want to look at a little bit closer. But yeah, like she's such a big character. She is almost like a magic witch in a story. And so, although like I of course would not want to come down and rain on like your parade if you take a lot of like inspiration from her. And I put a lot of like really like big themes in her mouth. Like she says a lot of things. So like she's the one who just gets to kind of sometimes just say what Robert thinks in a really mean way.
Okay.
But yeah, it is kind of like interesting to be sort of to have this character who I had not totally like intended to be a standout in this fashion to be praised as such.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of depth to her. But yeah, I mean, for me, it did feel like there were so many strange things about her that in some ways it felt humanizing to have sort of like a recognizable explanation for some of what was happening with her, but certainly not all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to have characters, both Anna and Dinius, who have these make do, as you put it, aspects of their personalities. They have to figure out how to come through, but then they also have powers because of it. And so you feel good about you almost feel better about their powers and want them to succeed because they are dealing with these other issues.
Yeah, I'd say that, a theme in this is that when it comes to life, like and cells in your body and all that stuff, everything comes at a price. Like trying to grow more of yourself is very hard to do. Trying to like force your brain to be smarter has side effects. And it's a little bit about trying to accept the limits that life will always have. Life will always place like upon you, as well as a sense of service. That's something that I don't think we really do anymore in the West. The sense of like a civic service. But the idea that I'm willing to take this like penalty to my health because I know it will help keep people safe. Yeah, I think that was something that I wanted to look at too. I think that there's a lot of people actually who think that the book has a fascist streak because they see these people changing themselves so much in service of the state. But I don't necessarily think so. I think that these people really see the deal that's in front of them, and for the most part, they are saying that they want to take the deal because it's better for everyone.
Yeah, and there's a real existential threat. I think I feel like that about. I have some of those same thoughts about our society. We talked about Starship Troopers last year, which obviously is much more is fascist. But the thing that I think is really interesting about that book and what you're sort of bringing up there is that when there are existential threats, a lot of these ideas we have about like what is nice and whatever, like that kind of all fades away, and you kind of just have to be real about what's happening in the world and whether you're going to try to help solve a problem that is so big that you have to make sacrifices for it. There's no nice, easy outcome to the problem. And in some ways, it feels like Western society hasn't had that for in living memory, basically. With and it's, you can tell in the way that some people act like everything's a joke, and it's not. If we mess up, it could be very bad.
It'd be really
and
bad.
then you'll have to do some stuff that you don't like. So anyway, yes, I very much feel that. Yeah, and it didn't feel at all like the characters were being coerced.
I think particularly in Dinius's case, he's incredibly aware of the trade-off and thinks about it all the time.
Yeah. The plan is for like in this next book to actually meet some of his like family and to really kind of get into the idea of like what his trade was.
That's going to be awesome. Well, we're very much looking forward to that. And we really appreciate you coming on, especially so soon after your big Hugo win and your Peloton move. I've moved one of those. Yeah. Not fun. We really appreciate you coming on.
They're really heavy.
They're incredibly heavy.
Yeah, like I was like that. Like, look at this little bike. This won't be that hard to move. And then I was like, this thing is all steel. All of it. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's insane.
Well,
we hope you do something fun to celebrate, and hats off to you, Robert.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Nice tonight. I'm going to drink 3 glasses of wine and watch a British TV show.